21 years ago, I set out on an epic adventure, a 9-day tour of the steam railways of North Wales using only public transport. With my trusty video camera in hand, I took in 9 lines in 9 days, some more than once. So join me as I take on the Great Welsh Steam Tour 2005. We begin on Saturday the 3rd of September. Taking the train to Machynlleth, it's a short bus ride up the valley to Corris, base for the first 3 nights. After a morning visit to the old Brycock quarry workings at King Arthur's Labyrinth, it's time for the main event, my first ever ride on the rebuilt Corris Railway. New build Tattoo No. 7 has only been in service for 2 weeks at this point, and it's operating a push-pull service to Machynlleth. After a magical return trip, I walk the minor road along the opposite side of the valley, and am rewarded with a beautiful distant perspective of the train in the landscape. Walking down as far as Talyllyn, I look at some of the haunting remains of the original line. There's a quiet, unassuming charm to Corris which I find quite captivating, and I soon resolve to join the society. Monday morning demands an early start, with a walk up through Corris Ugav and down past the lake to reach the upper end of the Talyllyn Railway. I arrive at the remote terminus at Nant Gwernol just as the silence is broken by No. 3 arriving with the first train of the day. There's probably not too many people who buy a ticket from here to Rhydyronen, but that is my destination for today. I spend a few peaceful hours at this charming country station and watch No. 7 heading down the valley with the second set. And before too long, No. 3 returns to take us back to Abergynolwyn. It's a short walk up to the Forestry Commission crossing to see Tom Ralt tackling the extension. And then, as the last echoes of the day's steam fade, I head down into the village for the bus back to Corris. I end the day with a final evening stroll up to Aberclefeni, tracing the shadows of the old Corris route one more time. The tour moves north on Tuesday by first heading south on the bus to Machynlleth and then a connection onto the Cambrian Coast line for the short hop up to Talyllyn. I can't resist a cheeky return trip to Dolgoch behind No. 7, where I hold over to film Sir Hayden heading up the valley. If we're quick, we can even film the up train twice here. And before long, Tom Ralt arrives to take us back to Talyllyn, where we take the Cambrian Coast again for the trip up to Machynlleth. There's not long to wait before the familiar shape of Blanche appears to whisk us up the valley to Tramway. After watching Blanche heading away towards Blarnell, we can grab some lunch before wandering into the woods to watch Earl of Merioneth climbing hard past Three Gates Crossing. We return with the Earl to Porthmadog, our base for the next 3 nights, and the double fairly finishes up its work for the night. Wednesday morning I board the Snowdon Sherpa bus for the dramatic climb up to Pennypass and then down the pass to Llanberis, where the Snowdon Mountain Railway's morning service train is just descending from the summit. The morning is spent watching the Mountain Railway locomotives beginning their thunderous slog towards the clouds. I walk up almost as far as Hebron before heading back to Llanberis, as my main target today is the Llanberis Lake Railway. Quarry Hunslet Dolbadan is in steam, a welcome sight that seems to follow me whenever I visit this line. On this occasion, in a yellow ochre livery. I decide to break the journey at Cllllan. It's a fantastic vantage point where you can admire steam on 2 lines in the far distance, watching the lake trains below, while the mountain locos work hard above Clogwyn, heading into the clouds. Before heading back to Porthmadog, I film the train on the Llanberis extension, which opened 2 years earlier, marking the second piece of new track for me on this tour. Thursday is Ffestiniog Day and the glorious Welsh weather strikes, making me almost regret my plan to alight from the first train at Dduallt. A short walk to the nearby foot crossing to film the next train becomes a bit of an endurance test when it doesn't turn up, almost leaving me to wonder if it had somehow managed to sneak past me in the mist. After cowering under an umbrella for over an hour and a half against the inhospitable elements, the familiar sounds of Earl of Merioneth in the distance are most welcome. A brisk walk back up over the Moylwyn Tunnel allows me to film the Earl's return downhill. Before Merddin Emrys storms along the deviation into the tunnel. We return to Tanyllyn behind Merddin, which has only recently returned from overhaul and looks most striking in a rare temporary unlined black livery. After a very necessary cup of tea, I walk down to Halt, watching the Earl power past with the last up train of the day. Before boarding that same train on its return for the final run back down to Porthmadog. The rebuilding of the Welsh Highland Railway has reached from Carnarvon to Rhydyronen, and the ambitious Phase 4 of the reopening, Rhydyronen back to Porthmadog, is being officially launched this weekend. Therefore, I decide to spend Friday bridging the gap on foot, walking from Porthmadog up to Rhydyronen via the Aberglaslyn Pass and Bethgelert, visiting as much of the old formation as possible before the reconstruction begins. As I survey the now silent route, my imagination is alive with the prospect of the rebuilding soon to begin. I've actually produced a separate then and now video comparing this 2005 walk with the line after the rebuilding, so do look out for that on the channel to see the incredible transformation. My base for the next 2 nights is Snowdon Ranger Hostel, a great place to enjoy the Welsh Highland Railway's Superpower weekend. After filming the arrival of the first train, I hop on board and head down to Dinas. The yard is a hive of activity, featuring the pioneering Garrett K1 and footplate rides on Quarry Hunslet Elidir visiting from the Llanberis Lake Railway. From here I walk down the path alongside the line towards Carnarvon to film the action from the line side. Prince is in action on a short shuttle service, consisting of heritage rolling stock. Upon reaching Carnarvon, we watch as Garrett number 143, at this time in its South African Railway's black livery, storms away from the station. And then soon Prince arrives to take us back to Dinas. Among the unusual train formations today is the massive diesel Castle Carnarvon dwarfing the heritage stock, topping and tailing a shuttle service to Wynebower with Prince. After enjoying more of the atmosphere at Dinas, I head up to Rhydyronen. And then back to Wynebower, where Castle Carnarvon arrives once more to haul us back to the current railhead at Rhydyronen. Where we watch as the diesel heads back with the last train of the day. Sunday morning is spent on the footpaths between Snowdon Ranger and Rhydyronen. First, we watch number 143 storming towards the station. Before I then head back to find a vantage point showcasing a huge Garrett's in even more huge scenery. Next, it's number 138's turn to heave a lengthy mixed train through the reverse curves at Frith Isaf. At this time, the loco is carrying the name Millennium and running in a green livery, which is a stark contrast to the red carries today. As it sets off on the return journey to Dinas, the low-hanging clouds obscure the mountain tops. Number 143 returns, making for a magnificent sight climbing past us with Llyn Gwernol in the background. Pay attention to the rear of the train. You'll see the volunteers riding in the wagons. This is the official Phase 4 launch train. At Rhydyronen, 143 shunts the wagons, ready to mark the symbolic start of the rebuilding to Porthmadog. And Porthmadog is our own destination, although we have to rely on the bus to get there today. We're just in time to enjoy the Welsh Highland Heritage Railway's own superpower, the massive Polish Lid 2 diesel. As the loco runs round at Penamount, you can see the original formation, soon to be rebuilt, on the left. And finally, in the glorious early evening sunshine, a walk to Boston Lodge allows us to watch Blanche arriving back onto the cob with the last train of the day. And so on to the final day, where we catch the first Ffestiniog train, this time behind the square, all the way up to Blaenau Ffestiniog. From there we take the Conway Valley line through to Llandudno. Whilst our train connection times don't quite allow enough time for a ride on this occasion, I make a mental note to return as we watch the Great Orme trams on the lower stretches of the tramway, with an admittedly non-steam but gloriously narrow gauge conclusion to our 2005 Welsh Odyssey. It's been a journey of great contrasts, from the quiet, timeless charm of the Corris and Talyllyn to the bustle of the Ffestiniog and the sheer scale of the Welsh Highland Superpower weekend. We've enjoyed historic locos and routes, alongside brand new locomotives and extensions, plus the tantalising taste of a long-lost giant about to be reborn. But this is not the end. There's so much more steam action to see in Wales, so exactly a year later, I set out to do it all over again, with a completely different itinerary and a different selection of lines to visit, including some new to me, alongside some old favourites. So keep an eye out as I prepare to turn back the clock once more for the Great Welsh Steam Tour 2006. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next journey.